Hi, I'm Brianna. This is Bo. I write books. He gets his fur everywhere. I make posts about writing, querying, and publishing. And I previously shared a kind of big picture rundown of how trade or traditional publishing works, which you can find linked below. But that's not the only path to publishing. So today I want to talk about another path, which is self publishing. Since this is not my own path, I asked two indie author friends to talk with me about the process. We had a really great conversation, which I have split into two parts. So this is part one, where we kind of talk about the decision to self-publish and what that process of putting out a book looks like. In part two, we'll talk about their thoughts on how self-publishing has gone for them and the idea of success, as well as their advice for others. If you prefer written posts instead of audiovisual, the conversation from this video has been transcribed in full. It's available over on my Substack, which I have also linked below. So the two authors that I'm talking with today are Thea Verdane and Ronove, who is also writes as the name S. Jean. So Taya writes romantic stories about imperfect people haunted by inner demons and dark histories. She writes her books from a desk that faces a forest in the Pacific Northwest, which is all she's ever wanted. When she's not making her friends laugh or her readers cry, she can be found reading one of her many talented friends' books or out in nature. S. Jean, who's also known by their online handle Renove, is a queer sci-fi and fantasy author writing whatever strikes their fancy at any given moment. When not writing or dreaming of what to write, they can be found dabbling in game development and drawing. So without further ado, here is my conversation, part one that I had with them. Thank you guys both for joining me. I'm very excited to do this because I have been wanting to talk about self-pub stuff for a while, but it is also like so far out of my wheelhouse. And I also feel like there's usually this like traditional publishing versus self-publishing like
hmm
divide, and I don't think there like needs to be the divide. I think they're both like equally interesting and valid choices. And so I kind of wanted to highlight the other side of things as well. Um, so I'm just going to dive right into questions. So
Okay.
my first one, everyone has kind of their own reasons for choosing one of those paths to publishing. So for each of you, kind of what made you decide to go this route, or like what about self-publishing appealed to you? Either of you jump in, or I'll call on me.
Do you want to go first, Renove?
No,
Or
I will let you go first.
okay. So my B probably knows a little bit, but I had originally always planned to self-publish, but then as I was writing my manuscript, a lot of my critique partners were like, "Oh my gosh, you should really try, um, querying and whatnot." So I did, and I always had the goal like I'll try for a year, and if it doesn't work out, then and I'll try like really hard. So around like 11 months, I had like written, I think three different versions of my manuscript, like with completely different, like the characters, like not as like controversial and like more commercially acceptable. And then still no bites, and um, my mental health was kind of not doing super great. So then I pivoted back, to self-publishing, and it was really exciting once I started. And I don't regret the time I spent querying because I learned a ton and made a ton of friends. So it was, it happened the way that it needed to happen.
Renove, I think you queried at some point too, right?
Yeah, so I spent 10 years trying to query different projects, and then I got really tired of doing that. My first self-published thing, I gave it like a try for an entire year. Then my grandmother died, and I'm like, I'm tired of people telling me no. So I just decided to do self-publishing because I had the skills I needed. Like I could make my own cover, I could do my own interiors. So that's what I did.
And then once you made the decision to self-publish, how did you like get started or even like know where to start?
There was a lot of Googling.
That's fair.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to go back and say 10 years, that's like, I'm really impressed and like, well done you. And then, going to do this after all that. Um, okay, but the current question, I think I had some, connections like socially. So I did Googling as well, but I was really helped a lot by other indie authors who like, came before me and I learned a lot from them.
All right, and I'm like in the middle of doing my own edits, so I'm also very curious for my next
Mhm.
question, which is what is kind of your editorial process and how do you decide like when the book is done? Or so there's always something else you can change, right? If you look at it long enough.
Yeah.
So kind of what is your process for that?
I mostly just throw it at people who have known me for a while and say, "Hey, is this good?" And if they generally like it, and then I just go through a bunch of different editing passes before I get to a point where I'm like, "All right, I'm tired of staring at it. I can't think of anything I can add, so I'm just going to go forward with it." And sometimes I'll still think I could have done whatever better or stuff I could have added, but there's no point in going back and trying to put it back in there again.
Yeah, I think my experience is similar. I I also do a ton, like use a ton of beta readers and like swap manuscripts with friends. So I feel like we can help get my manuscript pretty clean just amongst each other, which I'm
Mhm.
super grateful for. And then yeah, at a certain point, I totally agree. You just have to commit, like the story is done. I'm only reading to make sure there's no crazy typo and I
Yeah.
cannot change anything. Because at a certain point, like once you keep changing things or adding things, then you're gonna leave some new typo over there, so.
Yeah, and you'll also just upset like the balance a little bit if you just keep trying to add more stuff in there. It's like, no, at some point you just have to tell yourself, no, this is fine. I like this.
Yeah. What about you?
Curiosity, do you read your books after you put them out, or are you
No,
like, this is
no.
done and I'm done?
I'm worried about reading them and then finding a typo and then being really embarrassed. So I haven't done that yet.
For me, I was just really sick of my book after writing it so many times. Yeah. But I did,
It's
I don't
valid.
know, to like things, yeah, to like do social media posts, I was going to start reading it from start to finish. And
Good
I
luck.
did read the first couple chapters and was like, oh, this is like nice. I remember this. So I think with time, but I don't really have the desire to.
Like
Sure.
I know my book forward and backwards. I really
Mhm.
just don't want to read it again right now. Which isn't
Yeah,
to say it's bad. I just want to focus on my next thing.
Yeah.
totally.
Okay, like at a certain point need to like you like take a break. I cannot look at this anymore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, I do also think of the thing of like, okay, well, if I find something that I wish I'd changed, like there's a point where you don't get to change it anymore. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Although
kind
in
of helps. You have to
self-publishing,
commit.
I mean, in self-publishing, you can always do a new version, but
Mhm.
then you're just gonna get stuck in like the pattern of constantly doing new versions just to match your vision when it's better just to move on.
how far in advance of your like publication date, like do you have to have something done?
I like to make sure I'm done months ahead of time because otherwise I'll get really anxious and feel like I'm not ready to do it.
Yeah, for me it's the same. You also have to factor in if you're, doing your own cover, like how long it takes for your what's it called? The author copies
Mm.
from like Kindle or from Ingram, it can take like sometimes like 4 to 6 weeks. So even though your whole draft is like done, that chews up a lot of time and it's
Yeah.
kind of expensive to ship. Now that I know I can like actually sell books, I'll probably, commit to paying more shipping, I guess. But that's like a big thing for me. And then um, having that time to promote it for so long too, like that takes up a lot of time. So yeah, I was finished before and I'm hoping for the same this time. I will say like a lot of my friends finished much tighter towards the end, but it's kind of the same for me. Like I have anxiety also. I feel like it would just stress me out to not have
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
And then you started to mention covers, which is actually my next question. So And I know you both each have had a totally different process for that. So can you tell me a little bit about your covers and what your process and kind of how you got what you got?
So when I was doing my 10 years of querying, every time I finished a book, I would make like a fake cover to go with it because that always made me feel better.
Mhm.
And so that's literally, I just pretend I'm making another quote unquote fake cover and just go with it. Sometimes I know my covers are not really like very good for the genre that they're in, but I know how to draw and I really want to draw. So I'm just gonna stick with doing my covers.
Oh, that's so cool. So you like illustrate your own?
Yeah, yep, I do.
That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, yeah, I'm not very artistic at all. I wish I was. It'd be so cool to like draw my own character art. I would say
No,
that's
no,
me also.
it's not. Don't think that. You'll just stress yourself out.
Well, luckily I'm like genuinely terrible, like stick figure, horrifying.
I'm sure they're
Um,
adorable.
I could also probably do
You're
stick
being very
figures.
sweet. Yeah. When I give my like the cover artist like how I want the people posed, I'll make like little fish lips on my faces so at least you know the kissing lines up or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then I guess for me, so I didn't want, like most authors, when it's their first time self-publishing, they don't make any money back. So I really wanted to keep my costs as low as possible. So I used Get Covers, and that's only, I think, $35 for like, mine was like a photo cover, which people seem to really like. And I don't regret that. Yeah.
The one with the like wisteria.
Yeah,
Okay.
the black, the I should have it around, but yeah,
Okay.
the
Yeah, no,
original
I
black and
know
white
that
with the
version.
house and the yeah. Um, so yeah, that one, the only thing I would say if you are going to use them, which I do recommend them for that price, especially you definitely get your money's worth.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
just
nice price.
yeah, right? It's crazy. But it's usually students, I'm told. And then a lot of times there'd be like a big wait between the changes made, like sometimes a week between me making like a minor change and then I make another one. And then, you know, there's like they're operating out of Ukraine, which I think is really cool to support them. But like you have the added language barrier sometimes.
Yeah.
So I would just say if you are going to do that, just definitely give yourself plenty of time. Yeah, and then I I wanted to have I fretted a lot about my cover a ton because same thing like you worry if it's to market.
Yeah.
And like mine, it does give like the dark romancy, gothic romance vibes, but you can't tell it's like you know,
Yeah.
romance. So then once I started getting like a lot of good feedback from my ARC readers, I was like, okay, I'm gonna like my husband was like, just treat yourself. And so I did and got the illustrated one too. So
Aw.
yeah.
I did my first like character art commission last year. Well, I did two, and one of them was actually renovated my
Yeah.
characters, which are like you've probably seen on my post because they're adorable.
That's so
um,
Aw.
cool.
and that's like the first time I've ever, so last year's the first time I've ever done character art commission, and that was like the most fun thing ever is seeing like someone create, because I do not have the artistic skill to draw my characters. I can draw like non-human objects, but I can't draw people. Um,
Mhm,
and so having that, like having art of your characters, I knew was cool. I did not realize how cool it was until I got it's really exciting to see someone like bring to life my characters.
mhm, mhm, mhm. I agree. Yeah, it's like addicting. I feel like a lot of people have that problem where they spend a lot, but it's good for marketing, you know, so yes.
Um, so with self-publishing, all of that, the marketing, promotion, everything
Uh,
is entirely on the author, which also I, as you know, people say is like more and more common in traditional publishing too, is that the author is
Mhm.
responsible for more of the marketing. For sure on indie authors, that's like completely on you. So what has that looked like for you? Or do you have particular like strategies you have going in?
I mostly just cry.
That's
But
fair.
I'm just I have problems because I'm really shy and anxious, so I have problems like putting myself out there, and I know that's something I need to work on, but I just have to remind myself it's okay to be persistent. Chances are they didn't see it the first time, so it's okay to post
Mhm.
it again. And I also try to look at what my other self-published authors are doing and try to like if I see something that hey that would work, I would try to like do something similar or get some ideas. I've learned really well how to use Canva.
Yeah, Canva's so fun.
I think Canva has like really revolutionized things for authors.
It's just simple. Like I used to just use Photoshop, but it's like I'm sorry, Canva just works better.
Yeah.
Yeah, super intuitive. Yeah, I feel like if you, whether you're self-publishing or not, if you want to be
Yeah.
making your own promo stuff, you like Canva's totally worth it. Getting, yeah. Um, for me, I was given the advice from like a couple authors that did super well, starting with their first book as an indie author, and they said to like strive for like hundreds of ARC readers, like 200
Oh
to
God, that's so
500.
many.
I
I'm
know,
never
right?
gonna get that
Yeah.
many.
So I don't think I
Are
got
some
that
of those
many
like
either.
digital arcs though? Those aren't all print arcs,
Oh
right?
no,
Okay.
most like all digital except for like 10, I think.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
most self-published authors will do digital arts because
Okay.
it's just
Mhm.
easier.
So that feels like a
Too
lot of like
expensive.
printing costs for you if you had to get that many printed and then shipping and all of that.
Yeah.
Digital
Yeah,
makes
like
sense.
at least in my sub genre, I feel like everyone's pretty used to getting them digitally. But yeah, so it does sound like a lot and it sounds really intimidating, but what I did was like when I would ordinarily be like watching TV or something, I would just be like trawling social media, and that really helped for my marketing too. I like found people by searching my comp authors, and then I kind of like would follow their followers all the way down, whoever's like making graphics or writing reviews for something that would appeal to, my book potentially. Um, and yeah, I'm shy and anxious. I have like social anxiety, but I feel like it gets better with practice, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd like build, organic relationships because we like the same books and stuff, and like they make really cool graphics, then I comment on it. And then, I'd eventually reach out after, showing interest. It's very time consuming, but again, if you do it like while you'd ordinarily be watching TV in the background or something, it's fine. But yeah, I do think that's like, at least in my case, it was critical because I had like a bunch of momentum before the book was even out because all of those early readers had already been hyping it up. So super mega grateful for them.
One day I'll be there. Well, I think my
About
stuff
how many
needs.
arcs do you do?
I only do like I've only ever really gotten 20 people
Okay.
interested. So,
Batches.
but 20's not bad.
I
I'm still really tiny.
great number.
Yeah, romance
I
is
have no
like,
metric for
And
this.
in romance, I think would just gather a lot more people than my stuff, which
yes.
isn't mainly romance. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I think that's what I always say when I do end up giving people advice. Like, I kind of have it easier because, like, romance readers are so voracious and there's
Yeah.
just more of them. Yeah.
Yeah, which makes total sense.
Yeah. I think yeah, sci-fi fantasy is a little bit I think a different audience too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, all right, so this is my halfway point, which has been great so far. I
Yeah.
love learning from you guys because this is all brand new to me. So this is going to be my break point, and then I'll pick up a conversation for part two. So for anyone who only watches part one, what is the best place for people to find you and or your books online?
You want to go first, Renove?
Yeah, I will let you go first. My mind just went totally blank.
Oh, that happens to me all the time.
I can drop
Luckily, I
links
can.
too. So if there's like specific places and you're like add a link, I will put it below the video or in the Substack post.
Yeah, then I won't spell it out then since I know. But it's TeaVerdone .com has like all my socials. And then I'm Tea Verdone on like every social media except for the place formerly known as Twitter. Mhm.
You can mostly find all of my stuff on my Itch.io because I'm fully invested in hoping the the book part of that takes off more than it already has. Which again, like Taya, I'm mostly known as Earl Renove everywhere except for Twitter because I'm not there anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I do have a card which is just the sgene, dot card, dot co, whatever. Yeah.
Perfect.
So I didn't catch the first part. Did you heard the first part where you can find her?
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
just curious for my own self. Where can I find you?
I'll send you the link as
Okay.
well.
Perfect. Thank you.
And then, yeah, and I'll put the links below the video as well so people can check those out. And yeah, you don't have to spell things out. Do you have like a social media you use the most? Or is like the best place to, or do you update across the board everywhere?
Right now, for me, it's Blue Sky
Okay.
because it's yeah, there's people there. I like it there.
Yeah, for me it's Instagram. I'm trying to move away from there, but all the readers are there, so
Yeah.
Hard when you've like built a base somewhere.
yeah.
All right, so I'll put those links below the video and then we'll continue conversation for part 2 of the video. So for people watching, this is my plug to subscribe to something, which is either here and or Substack because I post both places. And then we'll put part 2 on there as well.